are so famous in Indonesia, and so many choir sing your piece. And I heard that I think more than 100 singers participate in your new virtual choir projects as well.
Yes, many, 17,573 singers.
Yes, yeah.
And many from Indonesia also. Yes, yes. How many from Indonesia, I wonder? Do we know?
I think more than 100. I do not.
Just from Indonesia.
Yeah, because my choir, maybe like more than 20 singers send the videos to this project. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we have already sent the videos from the first virtual choir as well.
Oh, really?
So this is very inspirational, what you have been doing, and unbelievable that now everyone or every choirs made the virtual choir because of the pandemic, right? Yeah.
Yeah, everyone. It's incredible. It's really incredible.
So you are the most inspirational person in the world in this choir. So let me introduce our friends from Malaysia, the prominent conductors, Ana Abelida Piquero. Hi, Ana.
Hi, Anna.
And
hi, Eric.
And from Thailand is Miss Jody Pawasut. Yeah.
Hi.
Jody. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
From Indonesia, there is Bapak Agastya. Bapak Agastya. Yeah. Yeah, mungkin. And so many person. And from Malaysia, there is Sylvia Wong. And I could not introduce to you one by one, but now maybe shortly that we know Mr. Eric Whitacre is the one of today's most popular and performed musician, and his work programmed worldwide by orchestra and choirs. And while his groundbreaking virtual choirs have united singers from over 120 different countries. And now the latest virtual choir is the number 6, right, Eric?
That's correct.
Yes, and the title is Sing Gently, regarding the pandemic COVID-19. Could you tell more about this project? I heard that it will be published on July 19, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So
tell us about your last virtual choir.
Yes. So well, many of you who sang in it know that it began because of the COVID-19 crisis, and I was very moved by seeing all of the people around the world who were volunteering, either doctors or nurses or frontline workers or people, just ordinary people who were trying to help people. And I wondered, as a musician, what could I do? And I thought, okay, so maybe we make another virtual choir, and I'll write a new piece, Sing Gently. And so I wrote the piece, and then of course all of you sang it, or some of you sang it, which is incredible. And now, right now where we are, the audio is finished. Today we finished mixing the audio. It sounds fantastic. It's so beautiful. I really wish I could share it with you.
Oh, really? Can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful. It's it sounds huge, but also very gentle. And I remember when I was writing the piece, especially the middle section where it says "Sing Gently," I love the idea of so many thousands of people singing so softly that I thought that's more powerful to me than singing like this. That if you have that restrained power from a group of people, and so compassionate, I find. And then the film we're making right now, And so today I saw a rough version of it, the latest rough version, and it's getting better. It's always one step forward, one step forward. But I think it will be quite beautiful when it's released.
Okay. So what is the song tell about? Maybe the text or how you make the composition?
Yeah, sure. So the idea and the idea for me was that I'm sitting at a piano. So if I play, can you hear this? Can you hear it okay?
Yeah,
Or
yes.
not?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So the idea is it's I wanted to make as simple a piece as possible. So I knew that all levels of singers would be performing it. So I tried to write it with only 4 parts: soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. Usually my music splits into many parts, but I tried to make it as simple as possible. And the idea for me starts at the very beginning with the piano. So when I write a piece of music, any piece of music, I begin with what I call the primer, the rule book for the entire piece. And in this piece, it's all here in the first measure. So the idea is already at the beginning, we have a high note here and a low note here. So already these two people, if you think of the notes as people, are far apart from each other. They're isolated. And then in the middle of that third, that's the glue. For me, this is our shared humanity. It's compassion, it's empathy. And so the entire piece then plays with this idea. And again, always that third gluing it together. And at different parts in the piece, different parts, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, take the third and they become the glue while the others are distant. And it's only at the very end that when the last chorus, when the entire choir sings in unison on G. So we come together and then the piano it brings that third back, that little glue there. So it's a very simple piece musically, but with a big idea.
Wow, it's a goosebump. Ah. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are all amazed with all the ideas and the inspiration you brought to this world and to the to the singers and choristers all over the world. And you like a phenomena in this part of history. I heard. I actually attended your session in Barcelona in the symposium.
Really?
Yeah.
You were there?
Yes.
Did we meet? I didn't meet you then, did I?
Yeah, because I could not meet you. Everybody, a superstar.
Nah.
Meet everyone. Really, I tried to find the way to meet you, yeah, but could not meet you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
No
I must come to Indonesia one day, and then we can meet properly in person.
Yes, please. I will invite you.
It's a great dream of mine to come to visit Indonesia. I've wanted to for so long.
Yeah.
The choirs are so nice, and all the people that I've met from Indonesia are so lovely. Yeah, I would really love to visit sometime.
Yes, sure. Yeah, I have an international choir festival in Bali. So yeah, you can come to Bali because
good.
Yeah. This year it should be the 9th edition of Bali International Choir Festival, and we have 7,000 participants. It is like 150 choirs. Yeah, but unfortunately, because of the pandemic COVID, we could not make it. Hopefully next year you can one of the being with us. I invite you.
Thank you. If I can do it in the schedule, I would love to. And I really hope we're through the pandemic by then. I hope we're finished with the pandemic so that it can happen.
Okay. Now, before I let the friends give the questions to you, I remember that you say that what you have done with the virtual choir, this is a new kind of the um, connection between music and we can attract the industry of choral music. I heard you said it in Barcelona, and I'm very interesting because in many places, like in developed country, we doing the music and we have to support ourselves, and it's hard, yeah. But what you done that you find another formula to bring the music and to give that the reason to support the musician as well. Can you tell us about that once more? Because that is very interesting for me. Yeah.
Maestro, help me understand. I'm afraid I didn't understand which part you're talking about.
You said that you bring the music to the level of connection with the industry, like you make the virtual choir, then it becomes spreading a lot, and then it give more benefit for the publisher, for you, and for the other section of the industry of music.
So you mean, sorry, and so you mean that the virtual choir is helping the industry of music?
Yes.
That it's helping.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't remember what I said exactly. It's funny now because the virtual choirs, unfortunately, they don't make any money at all, right? So it's we make no money from them. But there's no question that what's best about them is it, like you said, I think it introduces people to singing choirs who never sang before. So this time in Virtual Choir 6, we have many thousands of people who wrote to us, and they're part of this choir and have never been in a choir before. Can you imagine? Yeah. They've never joined a choir. So that part is very good. Is that what you're talking about? I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think because you started the virtual choir before the other composers or musicians do the virtual choir, not like nowadays, yeah. Because of the pandemic and we could not meet one to another. But you have already started with the virtual choir. What is the reason you make the virtual choir?
It was just an idea I had, a very simple idea that this, it was in 2009. Can you imagine? 11 years ago.
Yes.
And this young woman had posted a video on YouTube singing the soprano line to a piece I'd written called Sleep. And I thought that it sounded very beautiful. And I thought that it occurred to me that if 25 people were doing what she was doing, singing in the same tempo and the same key, if they uploaded their videos to YouTube and we just started them all at the same time, then it would have to make a choir. So I only started it thinking, I wonder if this would work. I really thought nobody would listen to it. I thought no one would be interested in a virtual choir. I didn't even know if it would work, actually.
Yes.
And when we put the first virtual choir up, I was shocked when the video went viral. I had no idea anyone would watch it. So it was the only reason I did it. It was really just a game to me. And then the only reason I made the second one is because singers from all over the world started writing to me and saying, when is the next virtual choir? And I didn't think for a moment that I would do another one. It never even occurred to me. And so I thought, okay, we better do this. And then each one just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's funny.
Yeah. Maybe one more question from me that I remember that you said you have the very special moment to decide you becoming the composers, and you are very attracted by the Mozart Requiem.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So can you tell us once more about your journey? Because that's very inspiring me that how a person like Eric becoming the composer and now the most famous composer all over the world.
So for me, when I was young, when I was a teenager, I played only in rock bands and pop music. I didn't read music. I don't think I'd ever heard classical music really. I'd heard it in films. I like film music, but that was it. And when I went to university, I joined the choir. This conductor there convinced me to join. And you can hear I have a low voice, so I'm a natural bass, but I'm not a very good singer. So I think he was just looking for someone with a low voice. And the first piece that we sang was the Requiem by Mozart, and specifically the Kyrie. And you'll recall it starts with us, with the basses. We sing, right? And so it starts that fugue. And then suddenly the altos join, and then the sopranos, and then the tenors. And I remember standing in the room, and I wasn't singing. I couldn't even read the music, but just standing there listening to all of this around me. And it was really like, it's the most complex, beautiful thing I'd ever heard. And also, I look back now and I think that what was even more important for me than the music was everyone breathing together in the room. That all of these people had come together in the room only to make something beautiful together. There was no other reason than that. And it's the first time in my life that I felt part of something larger than myself. I really felt connected in a way that I never had before. And after that, I became such a choir nerd. I joined every choir I could. And then in 3 years later, I wrote my very first piece of music, a little piece called Go Lovely Rose. And I wrote it as a gift to this conductor, this man who had changed my life. And that piece got published. And then I wrote another one called Cloudburst, and that happened. And so, yeah, it was really Mozart Requiem that changed my life. Wow. Truly changed my life.
Okay, maybe the participants would like to give Eric questions. You can show your hands. Anna, maybe you would like to, yes.
Hi, Eric. If a choir sings your music, what do you consider the most important element for you to consider it well done? Well, of course, aside from being in tune.
Yeah. So it's a great question. So for me, the most important thing by far is the poetry. So when I compose a piece of music for choir, the thing that I think separates singers from all other art forms is that we combine music with words in the most beautiful way. And my job always, I feel as a composer, is to take the words and illuminate them, to light them up as if I'm covering them with gold. And so every note that I write when I'm writing for choir is in service of the work, to try to find the deep, deep meaning of the poetry and make it come to life. And I can always tell when a choir is singing if they have really studied and thought about the poetry, or if they haven't. That if they really understand the meaning of the poetry, no matter what language it's in, and they're trying to communicate that idea to the audience, then it's magical. It's absolutely magical. And then what's interesting is it can be a little out of tune, or it can be a little rough. That's not so important, but the most important part is this deeper meaning of the words combined with the music. I hope that answers your question, Anna.
Yes, because the juries look for different elements when they grade, especially in competitions. So I'm actually curious what you would think would be the most important element for you if, for example, you become a jury.
I'll tell you something. I always say no to juries because I think it's terrible. I really think it's terrible, this idea of singing like that and with a microscope on you, and especially in competitions. I don't like it at all. I prefer to just listen to the music and enjoy it.
Yeah. True. I like it too.
So what do you think if I invite you to be jury in my festival? No?
No. I'll come and conduct, but no jury. Somebody can be the jury to me. They can judge me.
Oh. Okay, Anna, do you have another question for Eric?
Yes. Actually, I have another one. For example, if because my head aches trying to search in the internet for this. For example, you might know the answer to this question. For example, a church choir or a community choir, an ordinary one, because I want to encourage them to sing more in this pandemic. For example, that they want to sing your music and put it into their own virtual choir. Where do they get the license, or how much would it cost for them to make the virtual choir on their own and post it on Facebook, something like
If they're using a piece of my music, you mean?
that? Yeah, your music.
Yeah, and is that your child, by the way, that I hear? Is that, do you hear a child in the background? So sweet.
Yeah, sorry, that's my.
No, it's so nice. This is a singer right here. How old is she?
She's 8.
You can already tell she'll be a singer.
She loves music. She conducts too.
Does she? So,
Yeah.
so I'll tell you 2 answers. So the first answer is, if somebody wanted to use my music and to get the license for it, then they should probably contact either my manager, it's all on my website, or they can go to the Boozy and Hawks publisher. Okay, so that's one answer. But here's the real answer. I don't really care. I don't care. Just use it. You don't have to pay royalties on it. It's COVID. Everybody should be making music right now. Please don't worry about any of that. So yeah, it's enough just to have people singing. And the fact that it's such an honor. So that's the real answer.
Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Of course.
So now maybe I give the opportunity to Jody from Thailand. If you'd like to give a question to Eric, please, Jody.
Oh yeah, hi. I was in the session at USC a few months ago with Mike Schreiber, and you were giving session to the students. Yeah, I graduated from there.
You did.
Yeah, I'm wondering if a young composer or young aspired composer who wants to get started in composition and to get into like publishing business, what would be your advice to them where to start and what do they have to do? One, to be a good composer or a better composer, and the other one is to get into the publishing business.
It's a good question. So Jody, you're a composer also?
I'm a conductor.
But are you going to compose? Is this
no, this is for my students.
For your students. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm planning to have like a workshop, or trying to mentor some people in Thailand in both in conducting and composition. So this should be a good start for them if they hear it from you.
Okay, so it's an interesting question. I'll tell you why. Because I think writing good music, so being a composer, and getting published don't always mean the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So those are 2 totally different things. I think somehow as artists, I know I felt this way when I started. It's that if the piece is good enough, then of course they'll publish it, right?
Right.
But it actually doesn't work that way at all. That the biggest consideration for a publisher is, will this piece make money? That's all they really care about. They're not worried about advancing choral music. They want to make money. The publisher does. So, for instance, I wrote 2 pieces early on, a piece called Cloudburst and a piece called Water Night. And those pieces, for years, I couldn't get published because they split into too many parts. I even have a letter from a publisher who denied me and said, Bach knew how to write in 4 parts. Brahms knew how to write in 4 parts. You need to learn how to write in 4 parts. Ouch. Nobody will ever perform this piece because it splits into too many parts. So no, I finally got published. And actually Dr. Scheibe published Cloudburst in his series. So they finally got published, and then people performed them. So those publishers were wrong. But initially, it was really difficult to get them published. Nobody believed that people would perform them. And so there's 2 parts to this. So for your students, in terms of writing the best possible music they can, there's the obvious things, right? They need to choose good poetry, really good poetry that means something to them. They need to write well for the voice, right? That it needs to be well written, not only in terms of the register, but also voice leading. For me, I think so much about voice leading, that every part feels like its own melody, and every part, even if it's in the middle of a cluster, finds its way effortlessly to those notes. So that's the technical part. And then the bigger part, I think, is just finding an essential idea, right? So that find a single essential idea. So say Cloudburst, which is, this is for me what I call the golden brick. And it's all the entire piece is inside that one little chord. So you find that idea and then just make that idea. The best example ever of this is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, right? 4 notes, and he made an entire symphony out of those 4 notes. So just a simple single idea. Then when it comes to getting published, boy, all right, so they should send to all the publishers, and they should always, if they can, get a good recording of the piece. That's more important even than the sheet music, because publishers not only don't have an imagination, they need to hear it, a really good performance of it, but they also then will be able to use that to promote the piece if they decide to publish it. So a good recording is essential. And then the second is, don't give up. Tell your students just to start getting used to rejection. This is the name of the game. I still get rejected all the time. All the time.
Even now?
Even now. So I started my own publishing company, so I can't get rejected anymore because I just publish my own music. But I started it because I kept getting rejected still. And even now I'll contact orchestras and say, would you be interested in playing this piece? And they'll write me back, no. Or sometimes they don't even write back. So you just have to get very used to being rejected. But if you just keep going and going and going, eventually you'll break through.
All right, and another question: what are the pros and the cons of getting published by a publisher versus self-publishing?
Yeah, so the lines are really blurry these days. It used to be that if you got a piece published with a publisher, it meant a lot. It meant first that you were taken seriously by the community. You could have a published piece of music. And then it also meant that the publisher would promote not only your music, but also promote you as a composer. It used to be like, let's say you were a beginning composer like Leonard Bernstein, then what Boosey and Hawkes would do was they would, anytime anybody would want to play Copland, they would say, you can play Copland, but you also must play Bernstein on the same concert. So it really helped Bernstein. Like the publishers had that power. These days, it doesn't really work that way. And the challenge is what you give up for that is all of your rights. So most composers don't know this, but you sign away your copyright when you sign a publishing deal with a publisher. Your name still gets to be on it, but that means they own it. And they also own it until 75 years after you die, at which point it becomes public domain.
Right.
You give away all ownership to the piece. And in return, usually they give you 10% of the royalties. Only 10%, which is not a lot of money. It's not enough to make a living on unless you sell so much music. So the advantage of keeping it is that you keep all the control over it. Also, you can control how you're going to promote it, right? If you give it to a publisher, they choose the cover, they can decide how they want to market it to customers. If you have it yourself, then you keep all of the control. You decide, here's what I want it to look like. Here's how I want to show it to people. For me, I would never go back. My music is published through Boosey and Hawkes and Hal Leonard, but it's my own publishing company and I just sub-publish to them.
I see.
Yeah, so
that works out.
For me, that's what I would recommend.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and good luck with everything. I hope you get to come back to Los Angeles someday.
Oh, I was planning on it, but then got canceled, so.
Of course, yeah. Maybe next year.
Next year. Thank you, Tommy.
Bye, Jody.
Thank you, Jody. So now, if from the participants would like to ask something to Eric, please give me a sign. Maybe Pak Agastya, do you like to give some question to Eric? Pak Agastya from Indonesia, yeah, or Sonia? Sonia?
Maybe later, Pak.
Oke, Sonia?
Iya, Pak.
Ya, silakan. Mau kasih pertanyaan?
Lagi berpikir mau nanya apa.
Gitu.
Sejujurnya.
Oke.
What did
Mungkin
she
ada
say?
yang lain?
I can't see Sonia. I can hear her.
Sorry, I'm turning off my camera.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Here I am.
Hey, how are you, Sonia? Hello.
Hi, nice to see you, Eric.
Nice
I'll
to see you.
ask a question, but maybe later. Still
Okay.
thinking.
No pressure.
Yes.
Oke. From
Pak
Ray.
Tommy, boleh tanya?
Ya.
Pak Tommy?
Siapa?
Rino, Pak.
Oh, Rino, boleh. Silakan, Rino. Ini
Okay.
Rino.
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Hi. It's really interesting to see your process thought while composing the Sing Gently earlier.
Yeah.
It's just a glimpse, but it's really interesting. And I think if composer can share that kind of thing, probably not only in workshop, but probably in YouTube or something like that, it will be very helpful for us singers to sing your pieces or other composer pieces. So for example, when we sang your Alleluia, you had this like video, I don't know, introduction or something like that, right? About the piece.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's very helpful for us. Of course, we have our own interpretation, but the thought process of the composer will be very helpful to us. So that's maybe a suggestion, but my question is, do you always have the same thought of process when composing your pieces, or is it depends on the type of pieces, like, or what is the factors?
It's a good
yeah.
first. So it's a great suggestion about making the videos. I'll do that. It's a really nice idea.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thought process, sort of. So the way it happens for me is, how to describe this? So I think I'm a tragic figure because I have the soul of a singer, but I don't have the voice. I wish I could sing. I sing okay, but I don't have this glorious voice. But I sing all the time around the house, or when I'm walking or in the shower. I'm always singing, and I want to sing. And what happens is, before each piece that I'm going to write, I start noticing this kind of ache in my throat. Like there's a song that's stuck that I need to sing, that I want to sing, but I can't. It's not there yet. I don't have it. And then if it's music for choir, I go looking for a poem that matches that feeling that I have. Sometimes I have poems that I've kept for years that I've just been waiting to set. And then I know, oh, okay, I'll use that one now. Sometimes I have to go looking and looking and looking, sometimes for weeks. Okay, there's the poem. And then the part of my process that's almost always the same is, once I have that and I'm ready to start writing, I start looking for this thing that I was talking about, which is what I call the golden brick.
Mm.
And the golden brick for me is, I describe it as that chord, like from Cloudburst, right?
All right.
So it's not only that it's got the right emotion in it. Somehow in that chord, that group of notes, it sounds like wonder and mystery to me. Like that sound sounds the way I feel inside. It matches the way I feel. I don't know if that makes sense. And then once I have that brick, that golden brick, what I always imagine is that I'm going to build this huge cathedral, and I need just that one golden brick, and then I can start building all of these things. And then the process is kind of the same after that I start to write a piece, and I write it what I call fat. Like I write it really fat like this, and then I just start cutting away the fat. So I just start throwing out all the things that don't work, and then make it more and more elegant, and more elegant, and try to say as much as possible with as few notes as possible. So that's kind of the process. That's how it starts usually.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Rino.
Halo Pak Tommy, boleh?
Siapa ini?
Ini Ray, Pak.
Oh, Ray. Ya, memang ini gilirannya Ray sekarang.
Ya, terima kasih.
Pertanyaannya. Please, Ray Palevi, to give the questions.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi, Ray.
Hi. Ray from Indonesia. I kind of have like probably a vested interest here. So I wrote a question to the committee saying that I have one foot on the classical choir, and then I have another foot on barbershop harmony chorus. So when I was in New Zealand, I was a member of a barbershop chorus. But in my limited observation, I can see that there is a little bit of disconnect between these two worlds. And I don't see a lot of composer actually making music for both of these genres. And so probably that's the gist of my question today. I was asking actually on the written email saying that is there any chance that you probably compose a barbershop piece? But after listening to you, that's probably not the way to go for you, not your style. But if you can just describe what is happening in the U.S. right now between these composers for these two genres. That could illuminate probably a lot of people around the world and see that probably there's a disconnect between these two. If I can give an analogy between operas, between barbershop is the comedy and the classical choir is like the serious style. Yeah, that's probably my question. Thank you very much.
So absolutely, Ray. So I will say you're exactly right. There is this distance between the two, and I wish there wasn't. I really want to write a piece for Barbershop Quartet, or many pieces. I've wanted to do it for a long time. And I've wanted to make a kind of combination of the typical barbershop style and then the thing I do, right? That kind of, that because I think it would be perfect actually. The sound of barbershop, the tight harmonies. And, and also, I think, like you said, there's this perception that barbershop is a little lighter or comedic and that core music is serious. But you and I both know that actually sometimes barbershops can be so poignant.
Yes.
Can really be moving and deep and profound. And so the other thing that I've always imagined, it'd be great to write a piece for both, for Barbershop Quartet and for Big Choir together, where they're kind of speaking to each other.
Yeah.
And, right. And something with a really interesting poem that's not just light, but something that has depth with it. So yes, to answer your question, I would love to do that. Ray, if you don't mind, can I ask, have you lived in the States?
No, I haven't.
You have an impeccable American accent when you speak.
Thank you very much. No, I haven't. No.
Do you watch series and movies and stuff, and just have a great ear?
Yeah. Probably that's it. Probably that's the reason.
Did you find when you were in New Zealand, you also picked up a New Zealand accent speaking English?
A little bit, yeah. Sometimes it pops out once in a while.
Yeah, I think you must just have this incredible ear. It's amazing actually speaking to you. It really sounds like you're from the States.
No, I'm not. Well, thank you very much for the compliment. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for your answers. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, Ray. It's great to talk to you, man. I should say to everybody, by the way, I'm so humbled. Thank you all for speaking English. I know it's not your first language in Indonesia or the Philippines or Malaysia or Singapore. Well, Singapore, I guess, they speak English and Mandarin together, but thank you, truly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Tommy.
Yeah.
Next question is come from Milton Sadika. Maybe I'd like to give the opportunity because he is in the last stage of the university. Milton, mungkin boleh masuk di pertanyaan berikutnya.
Oke, Pak. Terima kasih waktunya. Bentar, Pak. Lupa contekannya di mana.
Oh ya, oke. Pertanyaannya mengenai inspiration composition. Mau saya bacakan?
Bisa mungkin dibacakan saja Pak, mungkin takut nggak fluent.
Baik. Okay, Eric, I will read the question from Milton Sandika.
Thank you.
What usually inspires your music? What is usually inspiring your composition? Is it something about literature, life experience, or another impression? She's now studying composition in the university in Indonesia. Maybe you can, yeah.
Yes, so
Creative.
I think when I look back at all of my music, the two things that always inspire me, that I'm always so, that make me feel in a way that I want to make something, is nature, is natural beauty. So this could be trees or flowers or birds or oceans or mountains, just natural beauty, space, stars. And then the other is the human experience. So love and sorrow and joy and ecstasy and dreaming and having children and these kind of worlds. These are the things that I'm always inspired by, and that I find music comes most naturally to me. I find when I try to write pieces that aren't about those things, then I end up writing about them anyway, if you know what I mean. So for instance, I'm not religious. I'm not a Christian. I'm not an atheist, but I'm not a religious person. But I've set a few things from the Bible, from the Old Testament. So I set a part of it that is when David heard that Absalom was slain, he went up into his chamber over the gate. So it wasn't inspiring to me that it was from the Bible or that it was religious. What was inspiring to me was the story of a man who lost his son. Yeah. That's inspiring. That's where all of the juice is for me. So it's about the human experience for me.
Okay. Now the second question from Milton is, how do you explore new sounds in your choir composition?
I don't know. Yes, sometimes it's just a simple technical thing. So do you know who Jacob Collier is? Is he popular there in Indonesia? A musician named Jacob Collier. Do you know him?
Yes.
Jazz musician, extraordinary mind. So I was talking to him and he mentioned, I'll play it here. So if you take fourths and you stack them like this, and then if you keep the top note and then just move everything else chromatically. Okay, so already that's super interesting to me. So sometimes it's just, all right, I'll find a technical game and just play with it. But mostly what it is I'll be at concerts or I'll be listening to CDs and I'll hear somebody do something and I'll think, oh, that's amazing. I never thought of doing it that way. And then when I filter it through my own style and my own self, then it always comes out to be something new. So for composers, for this composer, it might be interesting for them just to make sure that they're listening to lots of styles of music. Like, I think it's good to listen to classical music, but it's also good to listen to film music and video game music and pop and rock and jazz and really get all of that in your head and then create something new from the combination of things.
Okay. Yeah, maybe for Milton, this answer can inspire you about what you are thinking about. Now I would like to give the opportunity to Bapak Agastya mungkin. Ya. Pak Agastya.
Thank you to Eric, also Pak Tommy for the opportunity that I could ask a question. I would like to know more about you, Eric, about how did you find your own way to become a musician, or how was the process to become as to become you as you are now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I think it's a long process. I don't know. Maybe you can share with us so we can learn something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And when you say becoming a musician, you mean the career of music or as an artist?
Career of music and process to be become a composer. Do you have like composers to model on, like classical composers or modern composers? Yeah.
So for the career part of it, so I when I wrote my first piece of music, so I was 21 years old, and this little piece called Go Lovely Rose, I knew then in my heart that this is what I needed to do with my life, was to write music. I didn't know how you do that. I just knew that I had to do it. And it was like a fire in me. It's still a fire in me. I have to do that. I also learned very quickly that I was incapable of having a regular job. I tried having regular jobs and they were always disasters. So I knew that I had to figure out a way to make a career being a composer. And for many years, what I would do is I would get a performance of the piece and try to get a recording and make the music. And then I would just send it to every conductor I could think of. I would look for addresses and I would call them, or I would send it to them. Or if I was in a town, I would make an appointment to have lunch with them, just talking to people, trying to say, here's this idea I have. And most of the times they would say no, or they wouldn't respond even, but sometimes they would say yes. And if they would say yes, then I would do everything I could to go and be at the performance. And I would meet every one of the singers and meet the conductor. And I would even stay afterwards if anybody in the audience wanted to talk to me, or later on if they wanted to get my autograph or something, then I would stay. I would meet every person. I still do this. After every concert, I meet anybody who wants to meet me. And when you talk about which composer did I model my career after, what I actually remember thinking was not about classical music, but about rock music. And I always thought of myself like an indie band, you know, like a band who gets in a van and just drives from town to town and plays for 8 people. And afterwards they shake hands and, you know, sign t-shirts for 8 people. And then they go to the next town. And I always felt like I was just building fans one person at a time, really trying to do that. Then this all started for me in 1992. And it was only 13 or 14 years later that the internet really started happening, social media. And I remember early on with Facebook and then later with Instagram and Twitter that I would constantly be posting my music or my ideas, and anybody who commented, I would write them back, thank you so much. Or I would you know, and try to make, again, a connection with people. And still on my social media, if anybody likes it or if anybody responds, it's just me. Nobody is handling it. So I really just try to keep a connection with every single person that's interested in the music. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it really helps me. And also, I still have one question to you. Is it career as a professional musician also very vulnerable in the United States, especially during the, you know, like a pandemic, COVID-19, like you don't have any job, you have to stop, and, you know, is it the same issue?
Yeah, I think it's the same all over the world now, right? So for me, for instance, so I have 3 ways that I usually make my living, that I make money. One is I give public talks as a speaker. So there are no more public meetings. So no more public talks. They all just disappeared immediately. Then the other one is going and conducting music, traveling all over and conducting. Every single concert gone. There's nothing left in my calendar, not for the next year. They're just gone. And then the third way I have of making money is either writing commissioned pieces. Those are all gone because no groups are commissioning pieces now, or royalties from music that gets published and sold. But that's all gone because nobody's buying music. No one on earth is buying sheet music because no one can perform. So I remember when here in the States, when it first became apparent what was happening about the middle of March. And I remember sitting at the table and thinking, oh my God, like it was as if my entire career, somebody had just turned the light switch off. That's it, game over. And so vulnerable, like you say, that's a very good word. So right now I'm trying to figure out ways to keep making music, really. And until we get back to singing, until we get back to doing it. I think you're a professional musician also?
Yeah, I'm actually a music lecturer. So I work at university and also musician.
So are you teaching all your classes now over?
Yeah, online.
Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? It's terrible. Yeah.
Terrible.
Can't teach
a lot of work.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And then as a musician, I guess all of your work must have stopped unless it's something you can do at home by yourself.
Maybe during doing like virtual recording or doing something, but there's nothing, like a stage performance. So I think we cannot do until maybe the end of this year or maybe next year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes. I will say real quick, it's so hard, right? We are all feeling it as musicians, but I would much rather be doing this than be a banker.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. I'm okay struggling.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Okay, there is another question from Grace Yanti.
Hi.
Hey, Grace.
Hi.
Hi, Pa.
Please.
So, hello, Eric. I really admire your works, and in most of the songs you composed, you're known for having so many parts, but it all worked out wonderfully. I wonder what is the thought process behind that, because if we are only making four parts or so, we can take it from the chords like maybe this or this, but your work has so many parts, and I wonder what's the thought process behind that. And I'm sorry for my dogs is barking.
No, it's also a singer. Every piece I start to compose, I imagine it will only have 4 parts. I try to make every piece only have 4 parts. Can you hear me okay, Grace? Yeah, okay, great. So I really try to make each piece only have 4 parts and to make it simple. But then what happens is that I come to moments that need a certain emotion. And I'll tell you what I mean by this. So we talked about this piece, When David Heard, that I wrote. Okay, so it begins and they sing, when David heard that Absalom was slain. So we're still in 4 parts, right? Then he went up into his chamber. Okay, so now on the piano, it doesn't sound so nice, but with voices, that is like milk and butter and honey. It sounds so good. You want to fall into that. And so what it sounds like to me, it sounds melancholy and a little sorrowful, but also with a little bit of hope on top of it. It's a very specific, complex emotional idea in one chord. And so you can't do that. If I used only 4 notes, I don't even know which, it just doesn't work, but it's like a bath. So it matches the emotion that needs to be made in that moment for the piece. And so that's the only reason I ever do all of those clusters, is so that it creates the emotional cloud that's necessary for the audience to feel what's happening. Thank you, Grace.
Yeah, I have a second question, if you don't mind.
Please.
So I wonder if you ever got stuck in composing songs, and if you ever got stuck, then did you do to overcome it?
Yes, so I get stuck every day. In fact, I think when I think of composition, I think that's really what composing is just being stuck all the time and figuring out a way around it. So what I've found is that, oh, Grace, am I hearing your microphone again, or is that, oh no, okay, now we're okay. There we go, good. So what I've discovered is that if I get stuck in a place in the music, it's always because I'm trying to go off the path. And what I mean by the path is, let's say how to describe it. So again, with Cloudburst. Okay, so if I'm here and I know that that is my golden brick, that's my essential idea. If I start to get lost, it's because I'm trying to sort of invent something that doesn't live in that world. It's outside of it. And I have to spend a lot of time searching in the forest and the weeds, looking for something that I know isn't going to work here. But usually what happens for me is I have Bach sitting on one shoulder and Stravinsky sitting on the other shoulder. And they're both telling me that if I would have studied harder, then I could have been a real composer, or at least I could have been an architect and had a regular job. But since I didn't, now I'm here and I don't know what I'm doing. So when I start to get in my head like that and I go off the path, and then the trick that I use to get back is something that I learned from Bach, which is that, so if this is our chord, then the answer is in that chord. And then I play games with it. So for instance, let's say, I'll just break up the chord. Okay, what happens if you do that backwards? Okay, maybe not. What if you play 2? Just playing with the chords, with that little thing. So it's like just like a toy. Also, then it gets out of the emotional part of my brain and becomes like do you know what a crossword puzzle is? It's like a crossword puzzle. So it's just my mind thinking, like doing math. Okay, what if, and then always something will happen where I do something. Maybe I change the key. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, you know, and something will happen. Ba-ba, there it is. And then I can go again. Or it relates to this, but it's always just staying focused on the very simple idea instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. Does that help?
It does help a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, for inspirational. All the your explanation, not only like to answer the question, but you put all your ideas and your explanation is so inspiration for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Maestro.
Mungkin untuk yang I can give one more opportunity to ask something for Eric, Mbak Atit maybe, or Sonia. Okay, Sonia.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah, silakan.
Hi,
Hey,
Eric.
Sonia.
Hi, I finally have a question for you. Okay, what would be your suggestion to anyone who never done any composition but is trying to make one?
Okay, so is this you, by the way? Are you going to try
Yes,
this?
it is.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so here's what I would say, and it took me a long time to realize this. I wish somebody would have told me when I was beginning that it works this way. I think there's this idea of when you're going to compose a new piece of music that it's all about creativity, right? And creativity means that you have to free your mind and anything is possible, that the world it's just big and free. What I found though is that's terrible for making something because you get immediately paralyzed. You write one note and you write another note and then I don't know what to do and it could go this and you have no plan. So for me, what I've discovered is the smaller the box that you can put yourself into, the better the composition is going to be. And what I mean by that is, what I might say to a beginning composer is, you're going to write a piece and it can only be 1 minute long. It can't be any longer. Okay. And you can only use 4 notes. choose whatever 4 notes you like, but only these 4 notes. So let's say those are the 4 notes you choose. Now you can use them in any way you like. Or you can do anything you want in there, but those are the only 4 notes you can use, okay? So this makes you get very creative. You have to get clever, and you have to like think of, okay, well, if I can only and then you might start to see patterns in there. You might say to yourself, oh, well, it's interesting. If I can only use 4 notes, then maybe I use 4 note patterns also, right? So there you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe you just start thinking this way, right? But just about that little idea. Then I would say to a composer, and this is the most important part, you have to start the piece when you wake up in the morning, and you have to finish by midnight. Period. It has to be done. And the reason it's going to be a minute long is because that's the longest video that you can upload to YouTube or to Instagram. Okay. So you're going to upload to Instagram. And so that's it, because forcing yourself to finish is the hardest part of composing, because it will never be good. It will never be done. I feel the same way, by the way. Every single piece I write, the only reason I ever finish anything is because there's a deadline, because there's some choir somewhere waiting to perform it. I would still be working on my first piece if there wasn't somebody waiting for it. And so this is what you should do for yourself. Also, are you a conductor, or do you sing in a choir?
Yes, I conduct choirs.
Oh, so you've got it even worse. So you should write something for your choir and put it.
I wish. That's why I'm planning to, because actually my grandfather was a national Indonesian composer. And I never have the privilege and the bravery to try to make any song. That's why I'm trying to consider whether it's the time now, something like that.
It's definitely the time, but this is even worse. If your grandfather was a great Indonesian composer, then now you also have all this pressure. Do you have the same name? Would people recognize his name in your name?
Yes, my family name, Siman.
So it's all the pressure. I'm so sorry. Okay, so, but you have to do it. You just have to force yourself to do it. And especially if once we're out of COVID, you can write it for your choirs. And then that's the best, because then you can take it in and it's only your singers will hear it. And then you can hear it, and then you can change it. You change it even there. You can altos, don't sing that note, sing this note. Tenors, try this. You can take it home at night, rewrite a whole section. That didn't work. Oh my God, that was a disaster. Come back the next day. How about this? Just keep trying like a laboratory until you get something that you're very happy with.
Okay.
And then perform it. You can do it. I totally believe in you. I really.
Oh my God. Can I try send it to you if I make one?
Yes. Well, now you have to make it, because you're going to send it to me. All right. So I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting. So by midnight tonight. No, but please send it. I really hope you go for it. I truly hear this. Every note I write, I'm afraid. I really, every note isn't good enough. It's super hard. You have to get really honest with yourself. And what you have to do is just keep forcing yourself forward. Just say, no, I'm not going to quit. No, I'm not going to quit. No, I'm not going to quit. You can do this. I believe in you.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you, Batomi.
Okay, thank you very much for all the time is in this question and answer, and especially to Eric. This is once again really an honor for us to have you in our Choral talk show, and this is must be a very special moment for everyone in Indonesia and in this area, for conductors, for choristers in Indonesia. As you know that we are very big countries with more than 17,000 islands. So I invite you to come, and I believe that all the conductors and singers would like to meet you and to learn from you, and maybe we can create a project in Indonesia next year, maybe, if we can talk about that. So once more, thank you very much for your attending this meeting. And can you make a closing statements or like to encourage people to keep singing in this pandemic COVID-19, so everyone can hear from a special composer like you, Eric, please.
Yes. Well, so first, do I say Tommyanto?
Yes.
Tommy, how? Tommyanto is.
Yeah. You can call me only Tommy as well. Yeah.
Also Tommy.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tommy, first, thank you for having me. Thank all of you for being here. It's a big honor for me. I would really say about the COVID-19 thing. I imagine you're all like me. You all feel the way I do, which is that I love to sing. I love to be in choirs and around choirs. I love to make music together. Still, with all of that, I never realized how much I truly need it. It's not that I took it for granted, but I realize now that I can't do it. It's like this ache in my body. I thirst for it. I can't wait to get back to doing it. And I know now it will probably be at least in 2021, it will be at least 6 months from now, if not a year from now, that we'll all be back together singing. I think that music and the kind of music that we make is essential. I think it's some of the most important music there is, because it shows everybody what can happen when a group of people come together with a single focus and an idea, that we breathe together and we just make something beautiful. It's that thing that I talked about before about being part of something larger than ourselves. And not only can we make beautiful music, but we can show people a beautiful way to live. I think it's essential that we do that. And I have this feeling in my heart that the image that I have in my mind is of a slingshot. Do you know what a slingshot is? Where you take, here, and you pull back like this, right? And that right now, during the COVID time, there's all of this energy of us not singing, of us wanting to sing, wanting to make this music, that we're pulling back, and all of this energy is being here. And then when we can finally sing together, like a rocket ship, I actually think once we come out of this, we're going to be making music like we never did before, with such gratitude and such excitement. And I think that actually we will enter a real golden age of singing. I wish it would happen sooner. But hopefully one day I can meet all of you and make music with all of you in person.
Yes.
Yeah, and Tommy, one day we will meet in person also. We will finally meet in person.
Thank you very much, Eric. And now this is the time to introduce our staff. This is Indra, who contact you.
Hi, Indra. Oh, Indra went from one box to the other.
Please say thank you also to Claire and Meg for making this happen.
I will, Indra, and thank you so much. And I saw your Instagram message tonight. I'll write you back. But
yes.
Thank you so much for reaching out to me.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, and another, please come here, boys and girls. Yeah, this is all my students, but now they our staff to make more event in Indonesia.
Don't worry, we do the quarantine together, so you don't need the
they live in my house,
really?
Yeah. So we are doing another virtual choirs that we call it Singing Together. And maybe in the next month, we will have another virtual choir with to celebrate our 75 national independence. So we will make the update to you, and hopefully that's in the future we can do collaboration with you. Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is Rangga. Rangga is the young composer, and maybe now he in the tutorial with Dr. Zakaria Go from Singapore. Yeah, hopefully he can learn from you as well. And in the back is Eric. Eric as well, named Frederick.
Eric.
He's doing the composition as well now. And then another is Lydia. Hi, Lydia. Yeah.
Hi, Eric.
Yeah.
Hey.
And Kalista.
Hi, Kalista.
Yeah. And this with the yellow is oh yes, yeah. Echo. Yeah. Yeah. And Mr. Jerry, who helped us in technical. Yeah.
Hey, Tommy, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
So if you have students there that are from Indonesia, but
Yes.
also from Singapore, for instance,
Yes.
do you all speak English together? Is that the common language?
No, we talk in Indonesian language. We call it Bahasa Indonesia. Yeah.
Yes.
But they came from different part of Indonesia, so they talk with another language as well that I cannot understand. Yeah.
So you must all speak English together. It's the only language that you all
No,
share.
we have national language called Indonesia. Yeah.
But then the students from Singapore, when
the
you speak
student from Singapore, they yeah, we have to talk with English, of
in
course.
English. Yes, I see. Yes, yes. Amazing.
Yeah. So that is all of our staff member.
A dream team right here.
So once again, thank you very much for this meeting, and yeah, we are very happy, and hopefully we can meet again sometimes.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
And be well, everyone. Be safe and be well.
Okay.
You too, Eric.
You too, Eric. Yeah.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. See you in the next Choral Talk with another opportunity and another guest. Bye-bye. Kenapa? Bye, Ana.
Pak.
Ya, bye-bye.
Bye, Mam. Kemana?
Hi, Indra, my
Bye,
love.
Anita. Ya,
Makasih ya, Pak Tommy.
ya,
Daira.
terima kasih ya.
Till we meet
Bye.
again,
Ya,
guys.
ya, makasih
Pak
semuanya.
Tommy.
Sawadika, jadi sawadika.
Maaf nggak satu-satu disebut ya. Sorry, to mention you one by one.
Dadah.
Dadah, Rino.
Bye, Bu Anita.
Makasih Pak Tommy.
Ya, Elis.
Dadah, Lydia.
Bye.
Ih, halo, Ute.
Lucu banget itu.
Ute, Kak Ute.
Enak Dino.
Kak Eng. Dadah, Kak Eng.
Thank you, Pak
I have to
Tommy.
say goodbye. Kak Ute.
Makasih, bye.
Bye.
Aduh.
Yang enggak kan?